Have you ever felt that when it comes to finance, you seem unsure how to handle the topic, or you're just simply uncomfortable and you're wondering, what is all this about? Or are you just plainly uncomfortable to ask for help, feeling like, what would they think of me? I don't know numbers. Or are you thinking, I don't have money? Maybe I'll be confident enough to approach the subject of finance management when I do? Or could it be that you're feeling completely like a fish out of water when the topic of finance is presented and you'd rather not talk about it? Well, I have good news for you. As part of our podcast 2025 team for the year, Empowering Women in the 21st Century, we will finally let the cat out of the bag on today's episode. I hope you're as excited as I am to tackle your financial fears so you can be empowered to overcome them and positioned to win. Welcome to the Help We Need podcast, where we explore topics that empower women and support their well-being. I'm your host, Fumi Cameron Keji, and today we're diving into a topic that is as important as ever, if not one of the most crucial topics that will help us chart the best path for our future as women. Today, we're talking about equipping women in finance in the 21st century. Our special guest is Abna Latte, a financial risk manager in the banking industry with over 10 years of experience in risk management. Welcome, Abna, and thank you for joining us today to discuss this important topic.
Hi, Funke. Thank you for having me on your episode. I am thrilled to be here to discuss this vital topic with you and our women listeners. I am so excited, really. So,
Absolutely.
let's go on.
Absolutely. I'm really geared for it. I'm looking forward to what we will learn today, especially as you take us through this topic. So, Abna, I would love our audience to know you better. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Like, why did you study finance? And, what's the connection with risk management? I know for most of us, well, some of us on our podcast today, like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to finance, I can speak for myself really. When it comes to numbers, it's something I shy away from. So I'm curious, and I'm sure our listeners, finance, why did you study finance? And then you added the risk management into it. So, not to podcast to talk to this.
Okay, thank you, Funke. So, finance. Why did I study finance? So finance has been an interesting topic for me since I was a child. I was actually quite good with numbers. I had a very good math teacher, and he just encouraged us to use numbers. So when it came to numbers, I was good with it. I was just good with it. And then for finance, I think that my interest was in because I always said to myself, I wanted to make things work. I wanted to make money, right? So then I decided I will study finance and learn how to make money. Then why risk management? So I joined the bank and I went straight into risk management without necessarily knowing which part of the finance I wanted to do. And then I'm a very risk averse person also. So I'm cautious and everything. So I thought the career would be good for me. And actually it turned out that it is actually quite good. So much as you learn about investments, how to invest, you also learn about the risks that are involved and how to manage them. So it's not about getting away from doing the investments, but it's about managing the risks. So this one just broadened my knowledge of what are the prevalent risks that are there and how do we manage it. So that's how I got into risk management, and I've loved it since. Yeah, so basically that's it about me.
It's so good to know. I think we're on our podcast for today, because I know for most of us, again, like I said, we're risk averse, right? We don't want to lose money. So let's get started anyway, because we need to jump straight into it. So I'm wondering, why is it so crucial to focus on equipping women in finance in the 21st century, in our day-to-day, in our times? Why is it so important that women are equipped to manage money or finance?
I like the way you say women. I would go to Proverbs where it talked about the wife of noble character. But I'll replace wife with the woman of noble character. And some of the characteristics in there, I would say, should apply to all women, wife or not. Proverbs, specifically to Proverbs chapter 31, verse 16 to 17, says, she considers a field and buys it out of her earnings. She plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. So she considered a land and she bought it. With what? With money. Currently, the world it's a difficult place to be. Prices are high. It's difficult. People are struggling, inflation everywhere, poverty everywhere. We want to get stuff, but we are not able to get the things that we really want. So in this century, times are harder. So it is very crucial that we learn, we know about what's happening, and we learn about finance. So we can apply this to our day-to-day living, to improve ourselves, to empower ourselves as women, to make us bold, to make us be able to make things happen in our homes, at work, everywhere. So for me, 21st century, it's a very tricky time. Lots of things are happening. Wars here, it's making the world economy really, really hard. So knowing about your finances, knowing how to manage it is crucial in this time. I don't know if I answered your question. I hope this it helps.
Absolutely, it does, right? Like, this is the reality of our everyday lives. And I mean, I like the way you pulled in the Proverbs 31. And for those of us probably not particularly clear where that came from the Bible. So it's interesting how you've kind of pulled it into the conversation to say, you know what, even, in the Word of God, we're encouraged to ensure that we are resourceful, and buying a land obviously involves money. So it's very interesting in the way and the approach that you brought that up. And yes, we're in the 21st century where women across the world, there are needs here and there, like you've rightly called out, economical situations and things that we're battling with every single day of our lives. And more importantly, we like shiny stuff, right? We're women.
Yes, we
love
do.
it. So money is really important, and it's very helpful for us in our day to day. So I'm just curious, because you've rightly said the economy is hard. There's a need and there's an importance for us as women to be even much more very, I would say, targeted, very channeled in terms of how we're using money and maybe making money. So what would you advise our women on our podcast today in terms of what are the tips? Like, how can they relate in terms of making money? You talked about financial independence and, being a tool to empower. But if you could just help us understand in more details, what does that look like in our day-to-day lives today?
So the tips of how we can get financially stable. I think the first one would be to educate ourselves. We need to learn. As women, we need to read. We need to be bold enough to try and find answers to the questions that we have, the problems that we face financially. So we need to learn about finance. There's no hard rule. You cannot hide from it. We need to learn it. But I don't want to scare you and say go and learn. And I'm not talking about reading books. Only reading books and then studying, writing courses, writing exams. No, I don't want to scare you. The knowledge is out there. You're talking about 21st century. The knowledge is everywhere. We have TikTok, we have YouTube, we have Instagram. It's everywhere. So there are channels where you can find, even podcasts like the one we're doing now. There are so many channels where people are teaching these things. So anything you want to learn about, instead of scrolling on Instagram, which we do now as ladies, we scroll, look at all the nice stuff, but we can't scroll on specific topics on finance as well. And you'd be amazed the number of things that are online that you can listen to, read, watch. It's amazing. So the first thing I would say is we need to educate ourselves one way or the other. If I say educate, so let's just be clear. I am not talking about going to write an exam and passing. That is important, yes. But educating yourself on a broad basis is what you do in your everyday life. If I spend 1 hour on Instagram just looking at other people's profile and pictures, I could use 30 minutes of that to listen to somebody talk about finance. What are stocks? What should I invest in? What is a trending stock? So I think that is a very important, the first point, the most important point really, is to find out what is finance. How can I make money? So that's the first one. The second one is how we are managing the money that we already have. We should have a budget on how we are managing or we are spending the money that we have. I know as women we like Funke had said, we like nice shiny stuff. Yes, we do. We love them. And we should love them. But we should be able to pay for them. So let's have a budget. Let's aim to save some of the money that we have. I told people we have she money, which is the money that belongs to just us women. So I'll name it she money. I actually heard it from a Joyce Meyer show some time ago. She called it she money. And that money, what do we do with it? Is it only for the shiny stuff? We need to budget. So create a budget and you save strategically. You have you make deliberate efforts to put money aside. Okay, there's a rule that says you put away 30% and you spend 60%. There's a rule like that. You can push yourself to do more, but you can do the basic. So we need to have a budget. Put up a plan every month. This is what I get. I put this aside. I put a certain percentage aside. Like we do, like maybe if you have to give to parents, you give a certain percentage to your parent. You give this percentage to this person. So give some to yourself and give some for savings. And that has to be a deliberate action that you take on your side. And then for those, I'll just mention that if you're in business, try and separate your finances. So the money that comes from your business and then what you're using for your personal use. Do not dip your hand in your business money. Your business would fail in no time. Do not go for a loan from a bank to build a business and then dip your hand in that same cash for your personal use. No. You must separate the two. So that's for a businessman. Even for the salaried woman, try and separate it. This is for savings, this is for spending. Separate the money. Always try and separate the money. And my third point would be, so the first one was educate yourself. The second one is create a budget and save strategically. My third point would be you protect your financial future. What do I mean by protecting your financial future? We've had what is called insurance. Insurance is a way of protecting your future. So there are products, life insurance products available which we can take to protect the money or to protect our future. Meaning, when we grow up and we cannot work to make money, we have something that would give us the money. That is protecting your future. So when you buy into an insurance, a life insurance, you are protecting your future or your future earnings. So now, as you have the ability to work or to do some work and earn money, as you earn, you put some in insurance for the future. Insurance does not necessarily give you returns as at now to spend and make you rich. No, it doesn't. Insurance is to protect the future when you cannot work and make money. So that is why we have insurance. So protect your future to cover your life, your health. So assuming you can't even do a life insurance, do a health insurance. It's so expensive going to the hospital and paying cash every time. If you had insurance and you can invest in insurance now, when you are old and all the ailments are now popping up and everything, insurance would cover and you do not have to spend your cash as at that time to cater for that illness. So you keep your cash and that makes you wealthy. You have extra cash. So protect your future. There are life insurances. There's health insurance. It covers everything. You can insurance for your house. You protect the things that you have. Okay, and then other people have built what we call emergency funds, which is good. So in your savings, you can have a part of the savings that is for emergency only. So there's a part of savings. So you can divide your savings into different segments: emergency, holiday, pension, whatever you want to achieve in this life. You can apportion your savings in that in that sense, so that when you are spending, like I use the word deliberate saving. This is a deliberate way to protect yourself for future, so that when you need it, you always have money for whatever purpose you want in life. So save with a purpose. Okay. And then also you can seek guidance. Okay, so all this I'm saying, you're like, oh, maybe I can't do this by myself. There are financial advisors you can always consult. Of course, they charge a fee, but just go to your bank. They are financial. Those are the banks are quite free. Just ask your bank, I want to save. What should I do? Where should I put my money? And I'm sure there are lots of people who would be happy to help and advise you on what to do. Like I said, even as you are scrolling, you can also listen to people on how have they saved, where have they put their money, how have they kept their money, how safe is it? And then you would also know. So just seek advice, always consult, seek advice. It also adds to your wisdom that you have. If you work, you negotiate your salaries. Make sure you advocate and you negotiate and make sure you are growing. The salary is growing. Because like I said, the world is changing. Events are happening. Inflation is high. Petrol prices are going up. Food prices are going up. So you need to make sure your earnings are also growing in line with this. You need to ask for it. Don't be a woman and be shy. Don't shy away from asking. So you need to ask for an increase in your salary. And the last one, be consistent. Do not be afraid to put your money into an investment. Do not be afraid. Don't hold back. That's why I said, first you learn, but you need to act. So you need to put the money in it. Do not be afraid. You learn and you put it in your pocket and you do not act, there's no point. You need to act. Put the money somewhere. I've said, ask people, read about it, watch videos. You need to act on all the knowledge that you get. Otherwise, there's no fruit. I hope I have answered your question, Funke. I would stop here and then, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Abna. You said quite a lot, and I think they are very helpful in terms of how we as women can, I would say, be proactive in managing money. And if I can just quickly just summarize, I think you started off with educating. So we need to educate ourselves. I know for some of us on the call, we may be financially literate. Some of us may not be that literate. So I think it's important, whether we think we are or we are not, to constantly seek for knowledge, constantly seek for new trends, what's happening in our society, in the economy. I mean, we're in the 21st century, things are evolving. So I like the way you've called that out as the first point. So we need to constantly seek to learn, educate ourselves. And you talked about, interestingly, budgeting and saving strategically. And as women, I know we love to spend, but it's important that we're spending what we can afford, right? And you talked about the concept of ratios, right? You keep a percentage for savings, while others may go into expenses and what have you. And you talked about separating. If we're in business, if we're on the call, we're women, we're in business, we need to separate the business money from our personal money, so we don't just dip our hands into funds. We need to be smart about how we're managing the funds, otherwise the business will not survive, right? And you talked about protecting the future. Interestingly, you talked about insurance. And in my own knowledge, I mean, when I hear about insurance, I think of health insurance. Yes, I think of life insurance. I don't necessarily look at that as a form of savings, because in a sense, if we're looking at the health insurance, for example, it's more around, I buy the insurance for a year, and when I'm sick or the family is sick, then we can use it. And God forbid there's a serious condition, then that insurance acts as a pool to kind of safeguard for those emergencies. So in a way, just looking at insurance from that perspective as a saving when it comes to health, that's an interesting perspective, because I've never really looked at it as an investment or, managing my money in that sense. And you talked about life insurance. Again, I think being aware and learning these tools and how we can use it effectively, I think that's really key. And I like how you talked about seeking for guidance, right? Because there's so many things out there. So like, if we're not careful, we may run afoul, right? So just being careful as to what should I invest in, or how should I go about securing my money or growing my money. And you talked about negotiating salaries, and I know for some of us that might be a hard task or too heavy for us to do. With managing the job and we don't want to lose it. So seeking guidance as to what to do and how to do it, I think would be the wisdom for that particular tip. So as women, if we can, we need to understand how to do that in a way that it doesn't jeopardize our jobs. And I think one thing I probably would want to add to that also, Habna, is for us that are, or some of us that could be salaried women, we could try and look for something by the side, right? So we don't fully depend on the work or the salary, so that we're trying to balance things out. And you kind of, in a sense, you said learn and act. So there's no point getting all this knowledge and insight and then just staying there and leaving it there. I mean, we need to use exactly that it will work for us. And to be honest with you, Abena, I've heard of stories where people kept their money in savings, and God forbid something happened, economical downtown, and the bank just cashed. I mean, they couldn't take money out of those savings anymore, and they grew from being someone that had money to overnight having zero. So I guess it's something that we would still look at during the course of our conversations. But I think these tips are very helpful. So thank you so much for clarifying that. And that leads me to that point of investments, right? Well, how do I invest? What should I be investing in so that we invest in a smart way? So because I'll be honest with you, most of us women, we feel intimidated, right? By the stock market, for example. And some people are thriving in it, and some people are not doing so well. And you've heard of stories where people would invest and then lose everything. So how do we navigate this space? Because we want to grow our money, but we're also risk averse and we're trying to be safe. So I'm very keen to understand what advice you would have for us in this space.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Funke. So it's an interesting question, really. In terms of what should we invest in, because we are afraid of losing the money, which is it's very real. So I'll just say, good investment is not necessarily about earning the highest returns. I think that's where we go wrong. We want to invest and get the highest return all the time. But that is not good investment as such. If you're not somebody who can follow the stock market, you see, for every institution, even the economy, there are peaks and troughs, meaning that there are high good times, and then there are down times, and then there are high times, and then there are down times. So as an investor, it is not even realistic to always want to get the highest return because there are down times. So I would say a good investment does not necessarily earn you the highest return. A good investment is one that earns you a consistent return over a long time. Consistent over a long time. I never said high. It's good if it goes up. Yes. So if I say consistent, I'm not saying just the same percentage all the time. It can go up, but it can go down. But when you check what is the average, it is consistent. That is good investment. What are some of the products that would give us these good returns? We can buy treasury bills. Those are one of the safest products. You can buy treasury bills or bonds, especially those that have been, so bills and bonds that have been issued by maybe the central bank of a country. So the ones that have been issued by your country. So for the US central bank or the US government has issued bonds or bills. It's a good one to buy because they can never default on their promise. It's like they've borrowed money from you, they will pay you your interest, they cannot default. So those ones are quite, we call it in finance, risk-free. Those are the treasury bills and the bonds. So depending on where you come from, you can buy that. You can actually buy ones from outside your country as long as it is issued by a government. Then you're sure it is risk-free. So I think the most popular one, which has consistency, I would say, would be the US treasury bills or bonds. Those ones are quite consistent. But even assuming you say, oh, that is a foreign currency, or maybe you are not in the US, so I don't want to buy. You can buy from anywhere. However, if you are in another, like you don't think you can access the international market, in the country in which you are, your government, by all means, is issuing bills and bonds. And that is the most risk-free instrument you can buy. So for anybody, even if you are a domestic help, if you earn, let's say, 10,000 or 2,000 or even 1,000, put 2 or 3 or 5 of whatever currency, buy a bill. Buy a treasury bill, earn 2%, 3%. The returns are not high, but they are consistent. And you keep it for a long time, the effect of what we call compounding would multiply that little money that you do. So that is good investment. So one of the products and the most risk-free for somebody who is risk averse like I am would be your treasury bills and your bonds. And then if you are more daring, you can go for corporate bonds or corporate bonds. Okay, so these are like treasury bills, but these have been issued by corporate institutions, which are not necessarily linked to like the government, and they give you a little bit higher returns than what the government would give you. Those are there, but they are not risk free because they are corporate bond. The company can go down any day. But it's about still monitoring what's happening on the market. So don't forget, it's not about the highest, it's about consistent return. So if you think that putting it in a corporate bond gives you some high returns at a point, and at a point is low, and you do not think the company is going to survive, you are free to take it out. Do not keep it there forever and say, oh, you have to have some. That's why you need to learn. That's why you need to read. You need to listen to what's happening. So you can have it, get some returns, get out. You can also, if you believe, like if it's a good institution, like a company that has been there for your whole lifetime, those companies are there for the long haul. You know they would bounce back. You can keep it there for such a company, but for a new company, like a startup, it makes you high returns, but they can easily, fall, or they can easily collapse, and then you lose your money. So we are trying to not lose our money when we invest. And then there's the stock market. So the stock market is not a scary place. It's like I've spoken about these corporate bonds, the same thing. Okay, so instead of bonds, they issue so they sell equity. So they say, I would sell. I'm floating shares. Come and buy into the company so that you have some ownership into my company. So that's what happens on the stock market. So what you are buying is you are buying some stake in the company. When that is happening, the company is actually borrowing money from you and saying, I will give you a certain return. So people go and buy single stocks. So for a single company, so I buy stocks of Apple, like you've heard, Apple, Tesla, all that. And those people also manage or look at the market and the trend, or they monitor the company, they follow the company financials, and so they buy individual stocks. But if you're like me and you are risk averse, you can buy mutual funds. So mutual funds are safer. Mutual funds, it's a collection of these stocks. So stocks from different companies. And they're actually put together by financial, what's called? Like financial advisors. It's put up, these stocks or these mutual funds are put together by them. So according to them, they want to receive a certain return. And so they are thinking, if I put stock A, stock B, stock C together, my average return will be X. And so that is the fund for you. So it means that if company A should go up, maybe company B will go down. But on the average, we will be on the same level. So always remember, it is not about making the highest returns, but making a consistent return over a long time. So I have done treasury bills, I've done corporate bonds or bills, mutual funds, and then the stock exchange market. So these are like basic ones which are very accessible to everybody. There are so many platforms that offer these things. You can have them on apps. There are apps actually which you can trade, which offer these things to you. Register, you transfer money, you would see your stock grow. And then your returns are given back to you. There are apps, there are companies, there are advisors who are around you. That's why I said you should probably, if you are not confident to do it by yourself, just walk to a financial advisor and they will show you what to do. They'll even show you, this is a mutual fund, this is how much it earns, this is how much it has performed over this time. And if you are interested, you can have it. or maybe no, this other one is a better one. Somebody can advise you on what to do if you are not confident to do it yourself. So I am not saying go do it yourself. All I'm saying is have knowledge about it. If you are not confident to do it, which is very typical of us, seek help from somebody and they will do it for you. So the knowledge is know that, oh, there are things called treasury bills. So you ask your financial manager, why are you not giving me treasury bills? Why are you not giving me corporate bonds? So that they know you know, but then they advise you. So that it not put you in one bracket. Okay, so that you can have knowledge is power. You know the diversity of the things you can invest in. And then you can also suggest and then they advise. And then you make a decision and then you move on. But don't forget, it is a market. It goes up and down. Up and down. So investing, expect losses. However, it is an up and down trend. So normally look at what is your average return over time. That is the most important thing that you look at. And do not be afraid. Once you are sure this is a long-lasting company, it does well, the average returns over time is good, I think I can put some money into it, go for it and let it stay. Oh yes, and another thing as women, when you put it in, leave it there. Leave it there. Don't go dip your hand in it again because you lose the value. You see, there's compounding. If you have 10 today, tomorrow you have 20. Even if the interest rate is the same, the amount is different. You had 10 on 20% interest. Next month is 20 on 20% interest. The next time is 30 on 20%. So the value is increasing and the 30% would also increase. So if you dip, you'll always be at 10, 10, 10. You will not see the money go. So the growth is seen in consistency of keeping it over a long period of time. So I'll just give these as the simplest product you can invest in. Of course, there are other sophisticated ones. Bitcoin, you can explore them, but I'm saying just seek advice and then you can get into. Currently in this 21st century, I like how you say 21st century, the world is like, it's on your phone. You can do anything on your phone. So you can get into all these ones, but just know these other more sophisticated ones are more risky. These other traditional ones I have mentioned are less risky. So I hope this helps. I hope you would go for it. I hope you would try something. And I hope you will talk to somebody. Thank you, Funke.
Well, thanks, Bena. That's very helpful. I think one thing I would like to pick out from what you've said is the financial advisors, because, like you've said, we're 21st century, right? And we have a lot of scammers, fraudulent people. So I think from a foundational perspective, it's ensuring that whoever you're approaching is trustworthy. It's somebody that, has obviously a standing in the industry. They can be traced, they're connected in a way that they're working with reputable institutions or
it's very important. Yeah.
Whatever. It's very important so that we don't just say, oh, a friend has this guy. And I think most times we run into trouble because we're trying to make quick money. We're trying to make so much money out of little. And that's how we fall,
that's how we fall. That's how we fall.
That's how we fall. So if it's too good to be real, it's not real. And we need to be careful. I like the way you put it, to be consistent returns in terms of the mindset. So it's not a quick fix solution. No. It's more in the long term. I'm building up for the future. You have a goal in mind. I'm saving for maybe my child's education. When they go into the university, I'll start now. And then maybe when we get there, there's something I can fall back on. So I think it's more around, it's a saving mindset as opposed to a quick fix. I need cash money, lottery kind of mindset. Because if we're having that saving mindset, then we're able to explore the right channels and obviously on the savings that we have and generate more income for the future. And you've said it so well. You've separated the traditional from the 21st century investment tools. And the traditional investment tools, you talked about treasury bills or bonds. You've even gone further to help us understand that, the US treasury bills, or we go into any treasury bills of our country, those are less risky. You've talked about corporate bonds, the stock market or mutual funds. And I think it's very helpful to have those insights. And like you've said, read up, explore resources where you can learn more, approach somebody in the financial industry that obviously is confident, they are well learned, they are reputable people, and then explore the options. I'm sure they advise as well. And then look at things that you can explore and then spread. Because sometimes it's not always, there's the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I think it's helpful to spread. So if something happens, at least it's not everything that it's in there. And you don't lose completely everything in there. So that's probably another way to look at it. Yeah, I think this is very cool. I, for one, am not such a fan of the crypto, but like you said, there are opportunities there. And if you're more less risk averse, maybe that's something you want to look into. But something that came across my mind, Hafna, is the real estate, right? So I don't know how much insights you can give us, but I think that's also another way to build on our wealth or on our savings. So could you talk a bit about real estate for the benefit of our listeners today as well?
Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. The reason why I didn't add it to the traditional ones is the real estate is very good. However, it is capital intensive. So because I want to reach out to everybody, I'm giving the simplest ones. But if you have the capital, it is one good store of value is the real estate. Buy a land, buy a house. The value of these things appreciates so well, you would make money. Even if you're not going to sell it in the future, you can rent it out. You can rent a house out. You can do, these days there's Airbnb. You can make money out of the property. Investing in properties are good. I mean, the store of value in property or real estate is very high and it's very good. But of course, you have to check what is the economy like, what is the market like. You have to check really whether this is good value or this is a property that is going to appreciate. You don't want to say, oh, Abna said buy property, so I buy it in a place where nobody is interested in, and you're expecting the value to go up. No. So you buy property, but you buy it where there is market, where people are interested in, where you think the value, because what shoots up a value? Okay, if I want something, if I want something that you own now, the value of it would start quoting higher prices when everybody is so interested. Okay, so I come and say, oh Funke, I like your glasses, and maybe Funke just bought it for nothing, right? And I've come, another person has come, and then Funke says, okay, I'll give you for 5,000. Another person, no, I want it so badly, I'll pay 10. That is what drives the price high. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying the price appreciates as fast as I'm talking about, but in a place where you'd know the value would go up. You know that this is a place, let's say you're in your country, you know that this is a place where young people are beginning to buy in. You can buy that. You know that the young people are always going to come to live in those places. Then you can rent it out to them. When the value has peaked or you need money, you can sell. But things you have to note, it is capital intensive. You need a lot of money to get into it. Well, not too much, but you need a bit to get into it. If you do have it, do not shy away, get it. Of course, when you're selling it, it's not like going to buy a drink, it takes a while to sell. It is not as quick. It also depends on the market or where you find yourself. In other countries, it could be fast. In other countries, it could be slower, but the value is definitely there. When I say value, it means that it appreciates in value. You buy it at 10 today, in another 10 years, it's like times 10 or times 100. The appreciation in real estate is high and it's good. It is only that it is capital intensive, and when you are selling, it may take a while. But it is a good thing to do. If you can rent to get rental income, great. Also, but the thing is, first of all, you have to know the purpose for which you are getting into the real estate, just so you do not get disappointed. If you're getting into it for value appreciation, then you buy it, you hold on, you wait it out till the value goes up. If you want rental income, there's a different purpose for which you are going into it. And so you would that's when you look at, okay, which area is the best one for me. So you're not necessarily looking at capital appreciation. You look at area, you look at which is more appealing and all that, and then you get into it. So depending on what you want the real estate to do for you, you have to put in the money if you have it and go for it. It's a very good one. There's a book that I read when I was a young girl, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think it's a popular book that it's all over, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Rich Dad, at least what I learned from it at that time, was Rich Dad was investing in property. He bought one house, renovated the house, sold it, renovated the house, increased the value of the house, sold it, put it in another house, and that appreciation built his wealth. That was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you have the capital to do the start purchase, go for it. Real estate hardly ever fails. I mean, there are downsides when the economy is down, prices are down and all that, but everybody needs a house. Everybody needs somewhere to stay. So real estate, it's a good one. I hope I've answered your question, okay?
Well, thank you, Abena.
It's just that it is not a financial product as such. That's why I'm trying to separate it.
No, it's fine. And you started off with Proverbs 31, right? A woman, she sees the land, she buys it.
She buys it,
right?
Yes.
So, in a sense, there is potential. So, I'm feeling like, okay, let's connect it to the dots, right? That's real estate. She buys a land.
Yes.
And that's centuries ago. She bought a land. And again, the land could be anything. But at the end of the day, there's yield, there's returns on investment. That's basically what we're talking about. Yes. It may not be a land, it could be something else. But in that sense, it was a land. So obviously, there is wisdom in exploring the real estate because it's an asset, right? It's not a liability like your cars, or you're buying things that would age or go with time and trend, but it's something that's going to last over time. And I think the advice you helped us lean on earlier on was the advisors, right? So even in the real estate, we need to really read, learn, understand, so that we are investing in the right place. We're investing in the right, avenues, and we don't get into fraudulent schemes, because fraudulent schemes are everywhere. To be open and candid about it, you have people swindling, you have people duping people. So we need to be careful as we explore the options that are being shared on our podcast for today. And that's why it's important to do our own research, to ask questions, and also not to put in everything, right, into one basket. And I love the part where you said, even when you invest and then you have the returns, you may not necessarily sell it out. You could also rent it. That's the smart way to go. When you rent things out, people obviously, you get more money for it. But whatever works for us, I think is probably what we need to do, depending on our circumstances and depending on the goals that we're looking to achieve. So thank you so much. Any parting words of encouragement or maybe even motivation for some of our women listening on our podcast for today? What would you have? What would you say? What would you say to us?
Okay. So my pattern words. Okay, so I'll go back to my manual, which is the Bible, and I'll say it says, "A wise woman builds her home, but a foolish one tears it down with her own hands." I think we all want to build our homes. We want to build wherever we find ourselves. Home meaning not necessarily husband, kids, wife. No, we want to build wherever we find ourselves. We want it to grow. We want it to flourish. Wherever we find ourselves, we want to see growth in it. Let's empower ourselves to be able to do it. Let's act. Let's take that first step. Let's talk to that somebody we want to talk to so badly to find out how they are doing it. Let's put that money in that investment that we have been thinking about. That house that you wanted to buy that you're not even sure, don't be scared. You are not going to lose money. Get it. And you know, women have this sense, which I believe every woman has, our sixth sense, which is very powerful. I think women are the only people who are born with that sixth sense, if I should put it that way. When you know, you know. When you have that edge, when you have that belief, take the step, act on it, and I think you will be good. God blesses us when we do that. Let's be wise. Let's build what we have. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Abna. I should be telling you thank you. Thank you for sharing your insight, and empowering our women to take charge of their financial futures. Thank you for joining us on our podcast for today.
Thank you for having me, Funke. Thank you so much. I've learned even by talking. I think I've also taken a few points from you as well, and I've enjoyed sharing. I have enjoyed sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. I think that's also something that's really important, because the more you tune in, the more you learn, and the more you also provide some feedback for us to continue to enhance our conversations as we explore ways to continue to support our beautiful women in this community. So please remember, if you're taking any last notes, any key points from our conversations for today, remember that financial empowerment is within your reach, is within our reach. It's a tool to support us in our day-to-day. Even if there are life-changing events, what have you, it's a tool. It's a tool to help us, especially when there are, life-impacting decisions, such as maybe setting up a business, our children's education, supporting a family member, supporting our spouses, through life changes. Whatever the case may be, financial empowerment is a tool that gives us a firm footing to support our present and our future needs. And obviously, it goes without saying that it needs to be used wisely. Again, thank you for listening to the Help We Need podcast. Stay tuned in for more episodes on living your best lives. Until next time, stay empowered and remember to empower her.